Hey everybody, welcome back. It's I'm gonna play a little bit more of the New Order as the good old US of A. So we have our foreign policy decisions. How are things going? We have 11 days until the operation in the Dominican Republic. Philippines right now is just kind of chilling, and we have 11 days until we are able to do some more operations in Madagascar. Now, Madagascar hasn't opened up into open conflict quite yet, but it is going to get there soon. For sure. Is there anything else new we can do with you? Not really. And we have no template for early heavy tank and improved armored cars. So you know what? Let's just solve that now. Basic infantry. Congratulations. I'm going to duplicate you, and I'm just going to throw armored cars into this. Yeah, there we go. That's fine. And then I will just rename you to Garrison. I don't know if we'll ever actually use them, but just in case, there we go. And then we'll copy you. And we need heavy tanks. So 1, 2. What even difference between the heavy tank and the super heavy tank? I think it's actually the same icon, which is disappointing. So they got the copy of copy. And you know what? Let's get like 2 of you guys going. Handful of the Marine division seems okay. 2 airborne divisions, why not? And then aside from that, you know what? Let's get some mechanized divisions in here as well. Will you scroll for me, please? Thank you, thank you. Yeah, we'll just kind of get a lot of stuff underway. And then for occupied territories, we will switch you to being, you're actually more expensive than this. Yeah, whatever, I don't care. It's fine. So, foreign policy decisions, don't worry about this quite yet. Because you're still in stage 1. I think, is it stage 2 or stage 3? When the fighting actually begins. The father and daughter. He was having a bad day. That much was clear. Despite the president's attempt at a jovial wave and the presence of his 14-year-old daughter gripping his hand, Nixon walked to the end of the White House drive like a beast approaching prey. He looked at the reporters there. How you fellas doing? I was talking to Trisha here for a little... I was taking Trisha here for a little stroll. Mr. President, Theodore White Time Magazine. Do you have any comment about all the story recently reported in the Albuquerque Daily on U.S. weapons arming Japanese soldiers in Madagascar? Trisha attempted to hide behind her father, only to be pulled back in front with a small but perceptible yank. Oh, well, you know, I can't really comment on matters of national security, especially with the little ones around. He gave a forced laugh. Oh, that's how Nixon sounds in my head. The photos, though. Photos. You know, there's a great deal of photos taken all the time. Some of them doctored. Nasty stuff. There was a flash of the camera. The president shifted to holding his daughter by the shoulders, appearing like a moment like a gargoyle perched over her. I just want to encourage members of Congress and the media to avoid this kind of shrill, irresponsible rhetoric that might damage our national security. We'll get to the bottom of this, but through existing processes. Another voice rose from the crowd. What processes? Nixon gave a taunt smile. Well, just before I came out, I ordered a meeting of the National Security Council and told my Secretary of State, to call a special meeting of the OFN. You better believe I'm working to get to the bottom of this. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think Trisha and I have to return to our walk. Well, maybe going even a single strike over was not the greatest thing we could do. Okay, we struck the match. Now we want to see if we can aid more of our European allies. Again, India, as far as I'm aware, doesn't really do anything. But, you know, there is the British war that can happen. Iberia will be able to, at some point, also kind of break free from the German sphere. Now, I don't know if we can do that immediately here, if it's even in this, but we will work with our forgotten allies. I would love to aid the UK if possible. Having a bulwark of American democracy in Europe would be nice. I'm not about Sweden over here with their little social democrat bullshit. I want good old-fashioned, first-past-the-post democratic systems in the UK. ASAP. The Manley with a plan. Prime Minister Manley, what can I do for you today? Minor responded with more cheer than he felt. Ever since the Puerto Plata invasion, it seems like disputes with the West Indies had only gotten worse, as the locals attempt to take advantage of America's seeming weakness. Ambassador, it's good to hear from you, came Jamaica's Prime Minister's accent and voice. Given recent events, I wasn't sure you'd be available. Well, yes, it's certainly been a busy few months, but I trust that this isn't a mere courtesy call. What do you wish to discuss, Prime Minister? Manley, for his part, cut right to the chase. Ambassador, are you familiar by this point? The West Indies Federation is not what you would call the most stable of nations, having bounced from one crisis to another ever since formation in the aftermath of the war. Your point, Prime Minister? As your President Lincoln once said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. The Federation cannot continue in its present state. What I'm proposing is a plan called the Constitutional Convention to strengthen the Federation's foundations and to ensure success. There was a brief silence for a miner. He's mulled over the idea. Prime Minister, I need a convincing of the Federation's dysfunction. But how would I convince Washington on the merits of your plan? After all, nothing will be off the table at the convention. I want to worry about our relationship with the United States, Manley began. We are all aware of the threats posed by the fascists in both oceans, and a stable ally would be much more preferable than one that's constantly in a state of crisis, wouldn't it? Secondly, after a year's humanitarian intervention, the United States has been suffering from a survey of what your people would call bad publicity. A convention would do much to allay local concerns about the continued influence of the Colossus in the north. But I had to admit, Manley did have a point. Now, all he had to do was persuade DC. I mean, why not? West Indies Federation, Grantley Herbert Adams. Now, he's not the guy we talked to, but that's okay. Where even is the capital? What's considered like the Port of Spain? Good old Trinidad? Or is that Tobago? Which one's Trinidad? I think this is Trinidad and that's Tobago? I don't know. But we do have some military factories. What do we want? I mean, again, it's like it doesn't really matter so much. Let's go for more fighter jets because those are cool. Hey, Japan is having an economic collapse. We love to see it. Here comes a new challenger. Legally, this meeting is not taking place in an outpost that did not exist between men. Can I skip this song? Okay, good. Okay, it finished on its own. Legally, this meeting was not taking place in an outpost that did not exist between the men that were not there. This was not taking place on a hidden command vessel on just the right side of international waters. There were not 3 men in the briefing room, but the lieutenant, the major, and the colonel, huddled around a map Madagascar, where they were not lending support to local rebels in their struggle against colonial forces. The lieutenant certainly did not provide a report on the emergence of a new force, and because he was not presented with his report, the colonel did not snarl at the lieutenant. Know who you are, yes? Yes, sir. Then I shouldn't need to explain, said the colonel, who did not let the folder fall from his hands onto the table. How fucking stupid would it be to support the communist? Not necessarily. The major did not slide the folder on the table and open again. The colonel did not raise an eyebrow. We don't need or want the AKFM to win. That'd be ridiculous. But we can always use them to fight. And if we want them to fight, well, they'll need our help. And if, by our intervention, which would not happen, the AKFM stock in the coalition increases, what do you think will happen then? It's a risk, sir, the lieutenant didn't say. But think about it this way. If we can push the AKFM to a fight where we don't have our boys fighting, then that gives them a better chance of winning the war on our terms. No decisions were made because this meeting did not take place. And even if we entertain the ridiculous prospect, there's no way that they decided to support the AKFM. So support of the AKFM will give us a decision related to supporting them in the arms in the later stage of the conflict. Additionally, our support for them grants a bonus to the fractious United Front national spirit. The concept the AKF bore a month later, they did not fall off the back of a cargo ship. You know, let's support the AKFM. As long as we're not Germans, I think it's fine. A burglary in Washington. It wasn't uncovered until the next morning, when a janitor noticed flecks of paint on the ground. He inspected the room and realized that it had come from the window frame, which had been pried open during the night with a crowbar. The police were swiftly called, and the Republican Democratic headquarters turned into a crime scene. Needless to say, the atmosphere in the White House was one of anxiety. There were no eyewitnesses, no fingerprints, and no signs of a getaway vehicle. Everyone felt it had to be the NPP in search of a re-election campaign strategies, but the president and those in the know had greater fears. If the NPP, or somebody sympathetic to their cause, was behind the robbery, what might they have found out about Nixon's less than reputable campaign strategies from 1960? Past has a way of haunting people. Okay, it has been more than 11 days, right? Or has it been like exactly 11 days? I want to look at my conflicts here. Oh no, okay, it's almost been 11 days. So tomorrow the operation will begin. We don't have, I guess because we're training more units, I don't have guns here. Oh, and now the Philippines are at war. Okay. J-Lo launches the Blitz. And now the Free Philippine Movement morale lowers in 30 days. 41. Are these all 41? I'm looking at the wrong thing, sorry. 54. Airdrop weapon caches, 2400 equipment goes. Contribution by 10%. Increases strength in the node by 10. Let's provide more local reconnaissance. I don't know what we need for this to be green, but should be okay for now. And then for you, organize supplies, infiltrate agents. Well, I mean, I don't think this is technical. Has this happened yet? We'll worry about that in a second. Landfall. The pilot grinned. He'd been waiting a rather long time for any action. Tilting the flight stick forwards, he pulled back the throttle as his high A6 intruder pitched forward and accelerated. He squeezed the trigger, lightly at first, before growing a bit more firm. The pull let loose an arc of fire and death, directed at a huge hill in front of him, atop which was a statue of Christ the Redeemer stood. The hill he knew was dotted with fascist artillery. The most important part of any artillery team is the spotter. His job was to find targets and instruct the men behind the guns. Today the spotter certainly spotted something, but it was not a target. An American plane was racing towards the position, and it was bringing death. He could not see the fire spreading from his guns, and he could only grimace. The spotter raised the radio to his lips and spoke. A warning? A cry for help? Nobody could tell. It was drowned out by the sounds of explosions of fire. Plane after plane flew over what had once been an artillery position, signaling that the invasion had begun. This story was unfolding around the Dominican Republic. American planes were pounding military targets. Below the planes in the sea, landing craft crashed into the shore, and over 2,000 men stormed off of them, fighting for liberty, fighting against fascism. The attack on the outside was joined by an attack on the inside. Rebels, insurgents, mobs, they all joined their comrades on the outside in their fight to overthrow the dictator. Guns of all kinds were used, from modern ones supplied by the CIA to ancient firearms that predate the First World War. Makeshift spears, clubs, anything that could put an end to the regime. The efforts paid off, but Trujillo had a clear picture of the situation. The landing at Puerto Plata had succeeded, and shortly after that, the auxiliary landing in Lupron, 30 clicks west, had the same results. In the White House Situation Room, President Richard Nixon nodded at the mustached man sitting across from him. Fidel Castro nodded back. Commander Boyo had just sent by wire. Perimeter established, landing a remarkable success, proceeding into the next phase. The 2nd Caribbean Legion has declared war on the Dominican Republic. Okay. Can I send you volunteers? The answer right now is no. Okay. Invasion concludes in 62 days. Organized supplies. Organized supply airdrops. Well, right now they have supplies just fine, I think. 100 out of 95. Frogman raids. I mean, I just call his army, like, command power. Do that immediately. Insurgency strength. Do I even know what this insurgency strength is? Operational strength will decrease by 10. Insurgency strength will increase by 10. Outcome of the Caribbean Legion campaign will be decided in 2 months. Arm insurgents. Yes. Strike weapon stores. Yes. Get all that stuff going, boys. And we still have 14 days until you're ready to go. Liberals have retained power in Canada. What about you? Nothing we can really do right now. WWII victory in Turkey. The Puerto Plata invasion. Well, I mean, the numbers seem good. Like, it looks like our allies have the manpower. I would love to be able to send direct troops, but I understand why we're not able to actually do that. Begin close air sorties. Division defense minus 40%. Yes. I'm putting all of my eggs into the Dominican basket right now. And Haiti is a member of the OFN. I would love Haitian intervention as well, because, like, why not? Chaos at Convention Day. Patrick Buchanan Hepburn was an inexpressive man. One of the many British exiles spread throughout the former territories of the British Empire. To minor, he was the perfect man to oversee the West Indies Constitutional Convention. Order! The Convention of the Federation of the West Indies is called to order. The clerk now will read the resolution under debate. A practiced voice rang out. Resolved that the Federation of the West Indies recognizes the right of all citizens, including linguistic minority population of a member nation. A few scattered shouts of approval from the French and Dutch delegations were quieted. This resolution has been read. And so it went. Resolution on language, trade, law moving, relatively smoothly, through the convention. Minor counted himself lucky that Trinidad Prime Minister had seen fit to go through him before trying to get the Air Force to vacate Chagamaras. And if the Department of Defense would agree to downsize anything near the canal. Through an upper house divided equally between the Federation's member states. There was a brief silence where the chamber erupted into chaos. Minor grimaced as the delegates clashed among themselves. Order! Order! This chamber will come to order. The Honorable. It took 15 minutes for Hepburn was able to get the room under control. Another 5 for it to quiet down through the Bustamite to speak. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bustamite rose. This resolution is nothing less than an insult to the good people of Jamaica, who, despite making up I cannot in good conscience support Jamaica's continued membership of the Federation and implore every Jamaican patriot to accompany me in abandoning this failed enterprise. Minor winced as he watched Bustamante and the members of the Jamaican Labour Party vacate the convention. Minor nursed a headache and couldn't help but ponder. How in the world is the Federation still standing? Okay. Weekly stability goes up, animal population, or not population, GDP growth factor goes up. Political power gain for the West Indies Federation. I mean, as long as Jamaica does what I want them to do, I'm happy. Now, they're not doing what I want them to do, which makes me sad. But imagine if they would just, like, listen to everything I had to say. A toy war. President Nixon had called an emergency meeting in the White House Situation Room, then waited to ensure that he was the last to enter. He wanted the men to rise to make an impression of the future accounts of the meeting. He smoothed his suit, straightened his back, and then entered the room with false casualness. Gentlemen, he said, as defense advisors rose to attention. Nixon noted the absence of the Mexican and the Cubans. It was only the inner circle today. Let's talk Trujillo. And then the war machine sprang into action. Boy-faced advisors laid down models of the Dominican Republic across the desk, moving toys representing rebel-aligned and Dominican forces, along with some figures representing believed Iberian and German assets. A small discarded figure of Trujillo, an X drawn dramatically over his face, laid to the side. America had achieved its aims and had vanquished the would-be tyrant and put a permanent end to its grand ambitions based on the briefing. The United States could go home now with its hand held high. I sense a but coming, gentlemen, Nixon said in a sly voice. An advisor looked around the room as if to ensure no one had snuck in. Sir, while Trujillo's Jeffs is a great victory, there's a chance for us to reinforce that by guaranteeing a stable pro-American leadership in the long term. He paused and grabbed the figure on the board. Joaquin Balaguer, right-hand man to Regio, has taken power following his superior's death. There are some early reports that he might have been even behind it. Based on his decision to pursue a ceasefire with our boys, we believe he's a much more reasonable leader. We believe he'd be open to a diplomatic resolution to the crisis, and we now count that with the necessary back channels to do so, he'll happily reestablish trade and get us in the room with the Iberians. But the Cubans and the Mexicans don't, is what I gather. They have moral concerns. They want Balaguer dead, and could respond badly if we reached an arrangement. I would say I put so much effort into this. Balaguer's got to go. We gotta. I want. So he's currently in charge, but is he still fascist? No, he's technically a despot, which is a different ideology as far as the game's concerned. Now, one of the biggest issues with you know, the New Order and doing all of these kind of things is that it still kind of relies on the Hoi 4 AI to work properly and to not fuck us over. Mediation decisions. Current tension is tense. Current level of preparedness is 25. Oh, did they already call the ceasefire? Okay, the ceasefire is already in place. Thing is, I don't want to mediate. I refuse to mediate. Current operational strength at 47. Plant mines. Tensions will increase in 6 days. Ceasefire expires in 89 days. And Trujillo's been overthrown. The bastard's dead, but it's not over yet. Absolutely. King Farouk of Egypt is dead. 14 political power for 8. You know what, actually? It's so weird to take political power for command power, but you know what? I'll actually take it in this instance. We'll try that out. Defiance. Read it, Nixon growled. The aide shuddered and did his duty. To President Nixon, Washington, from Joaquin Balaguer, Santo Domingo. Demands issued by United States government for my resignation and for the organization of the government of, quote, reconciliation, unquote, with rebel forces are offensive and an insult against the sovereignty of the Dominican Republic. Stop it is bluntly nothing more or less than playing with fire for the United States to make common cause for the group of opportunistic communists. Stop. Balaguer. Nixon's response was what you would expect, tearing up the copy of the telegram when the aide handed it over to him. He shouted at the officials in the room, "That cocksucker! Motherfucking fascist son of a bitch! Who the fuck does he think he is to defy America? He signed his own fucking death warrant. You fucking tell those opportunist communists we are on their side now." Okay. Who the hell does he think he is? You know what I gotta do? I gotta make more YouTube shorts, but like making YouTube shorts based on like the kind of content I make, it's a little difficult. I don't know how to really approach it. It's something I do want to try to do, because you know YouTube Shorts get you some decent viewership, some decent subscribers if you can play those cards right. So I would like to, if you're watching this, you're up to this point, you know, almost at the end of the episode, then I understand that you're probably a fan of the channel. So if you have any moments, I know this is, I just thought about this right now. This is not like a premeditated idea in my brain. But if you've had any moments that you've liked in the channel's history, I would like to, I'd like for you to share those if at all possible. But for now, with the invasion of Dominican Republic being a roaring success, I think this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you enjoyed, remember thumbs up, not enjoyed, you can always thumb down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.